All right, so if you've ever tried to learn a new language, you know this feeling. It's that frustrating moment when you mix up two super simple words, even though you've memorized them 100 times. It's maddening, right? Well, what if I told you that confusion isn't actually your fault? It's not just a simple mistake. It's actually a massive clue that tells us a ton about how our brains are literally wired to learn.
I mean, does this sound familiar? You've got make and do in English, or ser and is star in Spanish. You know both words, you know what they mean, but when you're trying to speak, you just grab the wrong one. You are so not alone. This is probably one of the biggest hurdles for language learners everywhere.
And here's the thing. This isn't about you not studying hard enough. This mix-up is actually a little window into a really fascinating process that's happening inside your head. See, there's a specific scientific reason your brain gets tripped up like this, and it all comes down to a clever but kind of flawed shortcut it loves to take.
And that shortcut? It's got a name: semantic transfer. Now, this one concept explains so much about the whole language learning journey. It's like the ghost in the machine, the thing that causes all those predictable mistakes. And you know what? Understanding it is the key to finally beating it.
So, what is this thing exactly? Well, think of semantic transfer as your brain trying to be, well, lazy, but in a smart way. It's trying to be efficient. When you see a new word in a language you're learning, your brain doesn't want to do all the hard work of building a new concept from the ground up. Nope. Instead, it just takes that new word and kind of slaps it onto the meaning of a word you already know from your first language. It's exactly like trying to use a map of New York City to find your way around London. I mean, sure, the basic idea of streets and buildings is the same, but the details are all wrong, and you're going to get lost fast.
Yeah, as researcher Nan Zhang put it way back in 2004, the meaning you're using for that new word is actually the meaning from your first language. Your brain does this to speed things up, and hey, it's a useful trick in the beginning. But the problem is, it just ignores all the subtle differences, the unique contexts, and the cultural vibes of the new word, which leads to all those classic learner mistakes we make.
So just how powerful is this effect? How strong is this shortcut? Well, a study by researcher Kubra Erdoğan at Istanbul Aydın University came up with a pretty brilliant experiment to find out. She wanted to catch semantic transfer red-handed and figure out the best way to fight back.
Okay, so here's the setup. The study looked at a group of 45 native Turkish speakers who were actually training to be English teachers, so these weren't beginners. They were all at an upper intermediate level, what we call B2. They were good, proficient speakers who still found themselves tripping over certain word pairs.
The test itself was really clever. It had 3 parts. Okay, so first, the students were shown pairs of English words completely on their own. Think make and do, and just asked if they meant the same thing. This part was specifically designed to trigger that semantic transfer shortcut. Then, for part 2, they were given a sentence with a blank and had to pick the right word. So now you've got a bit of context. And finally, they had to translate whole sentences from Turkish to English, which really forced them to think about the meaning in context. And you guys, the results from this were so revealing. That first part of the test, the one without any context, showed just how powerful the pull of your native language really is. Honestly, the scores were kind of shocking.
Okay, get this. The average accuracy for that first part was just 57.5%. 57.5, that's barely better than just flipping a coin and guessing. It proves that when our brains are left to their own devices with 0 clues, they just automatically default to what they know best, our first language, and it causes a whole lot of confusion.
And here is the perfect example of the problem. The most confused word pair by far was participate and attend. Without any context, the student's accuracy was a dismal 20%. And why? It's simple. Because in Turkish, a single word, katılmak, can mean both of those things. So their brains saw participate and attend and just mapped them both onto that one single concept they already knew.
But this is where it gets really, really cool. If our brains are so easily tricked in a vacuum, what happens the second you give it a clue? Just a simple sentence, a little bit of information around the word. Does it really make a difference? Oh, you bet it does.
Just look at this incredible jump. The second that context was introduced in part 2, accuracy shot up from that coin toss level of 57.5% all the way to nearly 81%. And in part 3, with the full translation task, it went even higher to over 90%. We're talking about the same students, the same words, but just by adding a little context, their performance was completely transformed.
And let's go back to that killer word pair, participate and attend. Remember that awful 20% accuracy? Well, look at this. The moment those words were put into a sentence, the accuracy skyrocketed to 96%. I mean, that is just a mind-blowing turnaround. Context was the antidote. It was the key that unlocked the right answer by forcing the brain to look beyond the simple one-to-one translation and actually think about the real nuanced meaning.
And here's the big scientific takeaway from the study. It wasn't about what kind of context they were given. It didn't matter if it was a multiple-choice question or a translation. The crucial thing was the simple presence of any context at all. That alone was enough to make a massive, statistically significant difference. Context is the undisputed hero of this story. Okay, so what does this all mean for you, for me, for anyone learning a language? Because this research isn't just some dusty academic paper. It gives us a really clear, scientifically backed roadmap for a much smarter way to learn vocabulary, and it's something you can start doing right now.
The big takeaway here is so simple. Context is king. So stop memorizing those boring, isolated vocabulary lists. It just doesn't work that well. Instead, learn your new words in full phrases or sentences. When you look up a new word, don't just read the one-word definition. Look at all the example sentences. And even better, challenge yourself to write your own sentences with it. This forces your brain to build a new, rich, specific meaning for that word, instead of just taking that lazy shortcut we've been talking about.
The study's author, Kubra Ardan, really sums it all up perfectly here. When learners are given context, that interference from their first language, that semantic transfer, it goes way down. You're not just learning a translation anymore. You're learning how a word truly lives and breathes out in the real world.
So the next time you get stuck, don't just drill the word over and over. Go find it in the wild. Put it in a sentence. Give your brain the context it's craving to get it right. And that leaves me with one final question for you. In whatever language you're learning, what's that one pair of words that always tricks you?